You're watching the Forefront Church video podcast, and wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. I want to welcome everybody that is on Facebook Live. Glad you guys are tuning in. Drop some comments where you guys are watching from. And always, you can DM our page, connect with us today. 10 a.m., you guys in the house, how we doing? Doing well. It's good to see you guys. We're jumping in, as Dan said, to our series we started last week called Jesus' Most Confounding Statements. These moments where, and if you're a believer, please don't ever say, the Bible makes perfectly good sense, and nothing that is said in the Bible is ever weird or confusing, because there are moments that it is. And if you don't believe, or you're still struggling with faith, or you're unsure, you'll go, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. There were moments where Jesus said some things that were bizarre. Last week we talked about some of those things that he said. One time he was with a crowd and they were hoping to kind of build up this movement that we now know today as Christianity in the church. And he said, hey, if any of you want to follow me, all you need to do is eat my body and drink my blood. And then everybody leaves. And his disciples are like, worst PR move ever. Like, how are we going to turn this ship around in this moment? And there were a lot of times like that. We're going to talk about one that Jesus had today, but we want to really look at this through the lens of, do we believe what Jesus said? Like, can we take him at his word? And in the moments where it was confusing, do we trust him? And so we're going to go there in a moment. But before we do, I have a volunteer that's going to help me a little bit with stuff. And so will you guys welcome our volunteer to the stage this morning? You're allowed. There you go. You're going to have a seat. This is for you. I want you to be comfortable when you're up here. Got a microphone for you as well. And so why don't you just introduce yourself? What is your name?
My name is William.
William. And so do you go with Will sometimes, William, or is it
Either
Will?
way.
William, all right. So I don't know if it was very formal, like, hello, William, or if it's like, hey, Will. And so, all right, so you're good with either. I want to make sure. So just because it's a lot, letters, I'm going to say Will. Is that all right? Okay. And so, why did someone laugh? I heard someone go, you squawk. Is there a bird back there? What's happening? So, Will, I'm going to ask you some questions. And how this goes, there's no wrong answer. So this is the good news. But I want to say out of the gate, I can't say I've never done this before, because I did this last service, and I'll do it again. So I'll do it a total of 3 times. But you're the second person that this has ever happened with me. And so I just need to get you. Does that excite you, or does that terrify you?
I think a little bit.
All right, a little bit of both. Okay, and so so one of the first questions I'm going to ask you, kind of hold that microphone so they can hear you a little bit, but you don't have to eat it because that's real weird. Do you want a poncho for what would take place?
Sure.
Sure, okay, so that was you were unsettled. I don't know if that's by what could possibly come after this or not. So I'm going to take the microphone while you put that on. We're just going to kind of set that there. You work on that. And while you do that, I got some other things here, and you just, do your thing, take your time, we're all here for you. And so this here, you guys can tell me, what is this? It's a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, technically a freezer bag. These are the things that you'd put in there, and I don't know who actually writes the dates and the contents, because you could see it through, it's clear, so that's weird. But there is a plastic bag, and do you know how a poncho works? We didn't plan quite for this portion of this. Here is how poncho works, William. this would be the point where if I knew your middle name, I would say the full name and what was going on here. And all right, so you got to put your head through the. Yeah, there we go. Give it up for Will. All right, we're gonna make it. We're in this together. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the microphone there. Do you know how that works?
I think so.
Okay, all right. And so this is a plastic bag. I want you to kind of check it out. I'll hold the mic for you here. Does that plastic bag look normal to you? Like there's nothing weird or off about it?
It looks pretty normal to me.
Pretty normal to you. All right, so I'm going to have you hold that there. And so I'm going to ask you still want the poncho, right? Like that's still a thing. You still want to wear it, okay? Yeah, you seem to. Okay, let me get something that you didn't see while you were up here. I got some water here, and so we're going to begin to pour this in the bag. You still want the poncho, right? That's a thing?
For sure.
Yeah, all right. You're like, there is no doubt in my mind. While I'm pouring this, I need to know, would you rather pick a number or would you like the audience to pick a number?
I'll put it in the hands of
You'll
the
put
audience.
it in the hands of the people. Okay. And you guys online, you can name a number, but I'm not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. That's why you need to be here, and then you'll be a part. And so I need you guys to pick a number between 1 and 6. Whoa. So I hear a lot of, it's between 4 and 6. So we're going to do that. How many 4s in the audience? Show of hands. How many 6s in the audience? Oh, yeah. You're like, I don't know what it is, but we want all of it. And so I want you to kind of hold the bag here for a second and test do you believe that the bag has integrity? Like it's going to hold the water there. You don't anticipate it falling out.
As long as it's upside right, yeah.
As long as it's upside right. Yeah, you should be able to do that. I mean, I've never tried to hold a bag upside down, but I mean, it's got a little bit, but that was only because where I poured it. It's actually sealed there. It's not like... It's still pretty good, it's a little drippy, but the integrity underneath is good. And so I'm not going to let you hold the microphone next. I don't know, how much do you trust me, Will? You're just going to put it there? Okay. I love where this is going. So we picked 6. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6. There's a lady over there that is terrified for you. I heard her say, oh my gosh. She's like, that's a no. She's Randy Jackson for us today. That's a no from me, dog. Is it? So I'm going to hold this over your head. And so let's just, if that's, or I should ask, poncho hood or no hood? No hood. But you want it there. Okay, so now live life on the edge, but you want it there just in case, right? Just in case things don't go as planned. And so we're gonna hold this, and you guys on Facebook Live, you can still see this. And so as we get these in, I want you to say once it comes through the other side, that would be 1. And so we'll try this together. We'll go 1. So here we go. How you doing, Will? You all right? Are you shaky? You're unsure. Don't look up at me. You don't want to see what's happening up here right now. So you guys pick 6. Will, it's still good with the hood, or do you don't even know what's happening up here? You're good? All right. And so we get a little drip because it went through a double hole there. So I didn't plan on that part. But overall, you got a little, so it's a little drop there. But had I not done that, the integrity of the bag is still, all the other ones are holding really well. You can wear that stylish poncho off stage. Give it up for Will, by the way.
Do I get to keep this?
That is yours. That is your new poncho. You can practice putting it on. I wasn't planning on that one today. And so other than my mishap, everything else is holding water absolutely fine. You see, Will believed, for the most part, that he would not get wet, except in the moments where he's like, I'm a little unsure. Let me keep the poncho on just in case, because I don't know if I really trust you. I trust the bag to a degree. I actually trust that maybe something would happen, except for the lady over there that was like, oh no, that this would happen. And even me, because of human fault in things, that I went through the almost identical hole that was taking place, but everything else that's there was holding water absolutely fine. You see, in these moments of belief, we really, really, really want to trust God. You see, even right now this morning, whether watching online or here, we want to put ourselves, even on a screen or in the seat, we want to put ourselves in proximity to what God is doing. We want to take a moment to say, all right, God, I want to listen. I want to understand. I know that things can be crazy, but I want to give you a chance to change my life from the inside out, even though I might have been hurt by church and Christians and all of that, which is many people's stories that are a part of Forefront. God, I want to trust you, but I want to have a plan B too. And so we go, God, I know that you're going to do what only you could do. I tell you that, and I will pay you all of the lip service. But I want to have that plan B, that poncho, just in case. You see, because God, there's going to be moments where life happens, and things begin to puncture what I thought would be absolutely true in your protection. And I just want to make sure that even though you're God, like God, that I have something to protect me on my own. Because I'm not quite sure that you can handle everything that transpires. You see, but our engagement with that, our belief in God and putting ourselves there, but still second guessing, that whole belief is really an identity issue. God, what do I believe about me? And what do I believe about you? And well, do I believe that you are the one that gives me worth, or that I do it all on my own? You see, the moment that we get into that, those existential questions, is we encounter Jesus and some of the wild, outlandish statements that he does make that are still absolutely true, just sometimes we have a hard time believing them. What we believe about us and God then informs our identity and our moving forward. See, 52% of people in the United States would say that they believe in God. Not like hodgepodge, like different gods, all roads lead to heaven, that they believe in God the Father, the Father of the Son of God, Jesus, that they believe in him. But what we are understanding over time, and Pew Research has done studies even up as close as 2017, have shown that now of that 52%, so that's the whole of people that believe, only 11% of those are people between the ages of 19 to 28. And so we look at that and we go, okay, so faith leans more towards a generation that's older. What's happening within the body of people that claim faith, and what can we do to spur that on? Because there are 48% of people that live all across the country, and if we were to divide that up, there's about 133,000 people in our city that are in that 48% that go, I'm not sure, I don't believe at all. And so that's a lot of people. There's room enough for this church and many more. Because people that go, man, I don't know yet. Because they're wrestling with this moment. God, I want to kind of get close, but I'm unsure because I've been hurt by church, God, we believe that Christians, whoever else, and I don't know if I want to trust you, but I need a plan B. Or maybe I just won't go at all. And there was this guy named Nicodemus that encountered Jesus and some of the statements that he made that wrestled with this very identity piece of, I want to follow you, but I'm having a tough time. Convince me, tell me why. And he gets an answer of what he needs to step in that he is actually baffled by. If you have a Bible, it's over in John chapter 3. It's in the New Testament of the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, it's okay. We give you plenty of options. Not only can you pick one up in the lobby, for those of you guys who are here, but if you're more digitally inclined and you guys online, you can go to our .info page, click the notes section, follow along there, and if you have questions, there's a chat bubble at the bottom of all of those pages. And just leave us your email. It's not for us to spam you. It's for us to be able to get back in touch and say, hey, you have a question. How can we help? Because all of this is helping us journey together with God. Because just like the guy we're going to look at, Nicodemus, we want to learn, if I encounter Jesus, what does this mean for my life? What does this mean for how I treat other people and move around in public with my family, with friends and coworkers? I want to know, and we begin to fill in those blanks. We want to help you with that as you grow and move in your faith. And as Nicodemus encounters Jesus, he asks him some questions. And we're going to be over there in John chapter 3, starting in verse 1 and following. This is what the writer says. It says, now there was a Pharisee, a man named Nicodemus. I'm going to pause there. A Pharisee was a religious leader of the time. These would be people that would help in the temple, that they would go and worship, and they would help them along in like rites and rituals and things that would take place. Many of my, in their phrasing, not mine, recovering Catholic friends would say, and that's a bunch of people around here, they say that, and that's why I share it. So if you're Catholic and hurt by that, that's not me, that's them. And so they would say like, hey, I was told to like sit, kneel, stand, and do certain things in like the time of worship. And so these guys would be kind of the facilitators of that. The problem with most of them was that they talked a good game but didn't live it behind closed doors. And so Nicodemus approaches Jesus, and so this is kind of the snapshot of who he is. A member of the Jewish ruling council. He came to Jesus at night and said, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God. So he affirms this, and this is why he says it. For no one could perform the signs you were doing if God were not with him. And so what he's sharing here is, we've heard that you have healed the sick, that you have actually given sight to the blind, that you have worked in ways that are miraculous. We know that God is with you, but he has some questions that he wants to ask him. And so Jesus hears that he's confirming that he is who he says he is. And so Jesus responds with this in verse 3. It says, Jesus replied, very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. Pause. Now, we're all adults here, middle school, high school adults, you guys watching online. We realize when we hear the phrasing born again, we go, that doesn't sound biologically possible. And all the women in the room said amen, because you are like, hey, listen, and listen to what Nicodemus shares in the next verse coming up. How can someone be born when they are old? Nicodemus says, surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb and be born again. Yes, Nicodemus, you would be correct. Like that is, he's like, this, Jesus, why would you say something like this? Born again, that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. I want to follow you. But what you're tracking with doesn't compute with me because it sounds completely obscure and impossible. And so Jesus doubles down on his statement. Listen to what he says. He says, Jesus answered, very truly I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom of God unless they are born of water and of spirit. Flesh gives birth to flesh, but the Spirit gives birth to spirit. Then you shouldn't be surprised at my saying, you must be born again. And we don't get Nicodemus' response, which kind of excites me and irritates me. Because I am a rule abider, and I'm waiting for all right, what is Nicodemus' response? And I'm going to do that. And we don't really hear much about him after that. So for you guys who are OCD, you guys who couldn't ever read a book and stop at chapter 4, you're like, no, we're going to finish the end. We got to get this. You couldn't start a movie and be done with it. You don't get to you will need the whole story. This you go, what does Jesus say? What does Nicodemus do? I need to know the end of the story. We don't get that. And I'm more glad that we don't, because for some of us who just want a 12-step program to following Jesus, it's a little bit more relational than we'd like to believe it to be. We say, no, I come to church, I go to small group, I give, I'm done, I've checked that off, heaven. Go, no. What does it mean for your life to be transformed from the inside out? And this is what Jesus is getting to. He says, where's your identity? Do you believe that you need to be here with me, nothing as a plan B? Or do you believe that you need to do this on your own? See, the question that he's really asking him, and that we need to ask one another, do you believe that Jesus gives you worth? Do you believe that he is the one that cares for you, that is the one who gives your identity, purpose, and meaning? You see, if you're a believer this morning, that's almost like a beach ball question. Sure he does, Jason. Absolutely he does. He's the person who gives me my worth. If you're unsure about that, and the rest of that, you go, I don't know. I'm coming and I'm learning a little bit, and it seems like that could be the case based on what I hear about this man named Jesus, but I don't know. You see, confirmation of that question, for those of you guys who are believers, doesn't coincide all the time with action. Because when we ask the question, do you believe that Jesus gives you worth? Most believers, I would venture to say all believers say absolutely. But look at some of the things that begin to inform our worth. Our career. How many times do we get together with somebody and we go, hey, what do you do? And then we begin to talk about how, oh, I do, blah, blah. And you might get puffed up, you might not, but we inform ourselves. If you're a stay-at-home parent, that is what you do. If you go out of the home and into the workplace out there, that's what you do. And all these different pieces. Our relationships, if you're married, if you're single, if you're widowed, if you're divorced, if you're dating, we're praying for you. Like you're all along the way. And then our relationships, and then we get into that, and then we get into family. Are you having kids? Are you not having kids? Why are you not having kids? Why are you choosing to have kids? That's weird. A tax break and all that. And we get into all this stuff. Which one of those? That's crazy. Like all those questions. By the way, just let people live. You have no say in whether or not they have little human beings to have to wake up to every morning. And so you have all these things but we define ourselves. You can be a friend because you have kids and they're the same age, and so let's hang out and be together. All these things, family dynamics that take place. Our accomplishments, this is good party fodder, as you're beginning and sit around talking and meeting people, and you talk about the things you've done, the places you've been, the way that you've succeeded. Social media, who liked that post? How many likes did it get? Maybe a better question is, who didn't like that post? Who commented? Who didn't comment at all? Who stopped checking out my page a long time ago? See, these are things that I know, especially for a generation that's coming up, like the tail end of mine and then behind that generation that's asking every bit of those questions about worth based on how many likes they get. So much so that they'll post a post into stories and then coax everyone to go and like their recent post because I need validation. I need to be told that I'm okay because if I get a bunch of likes, then I feel better. And it even goes further. What others say, maybe somebody totally lavished you with love and told you were the best. And then, like the contestants that try out in the first few episodes of American Idol, maybe that wasn't entirely true. Only mama really loved your voice and everybody else is like, "Ugh." The way people say and what we do, we wrap our identity around it. Maybe it was the person that never said thank you and you were always longing for them to say good job. You see, our identity gets wrapped up in these pieces. Confirmation of, yes, I believe he has my worth, isn't always coinciding with action because these do. And I'm not here to shame you. These are things that I do too. These things inform that, but it shouldn't. But we're human and we make mistakes and we value what other people say. We value all these things and all those things can be great, but they don't give you and I our worth. I love the way that Craig Rochelle, he's a pastor at a church that has done, if you use the Bible app, his church, it birthed out of there. He shares it this way in his book, Soul Detox. He says, when you accept the fact that your true identity includes being an overcomer, you will never settle for less than a miracle. You see, for many believers, it's almost like, yeah, I believe in God, but I need a plan B. And I love the way that Will was able to walk through that, but if I had been up here too, I would have totally chosen the poncho. Because, yeah, I believe, and yeah, I trust that all that's going to happen, but I need a plan B just in case. But God is not in the movement and business of plan Bs. You see, God is always picking the best absolute plan for you and I. And even hijacking the plans of others that intercede and get into that and holding us strong even when people try to derail the plan of God. You see, but Nicodemus didn't understand that, which is why he asked Jesus, how can this be? I'm only understanding this from the physical side. You see, we cannot comprehend the miraculous change when we've never encountered the one who can do it. You see, for you and I, if we want to chase after being close to God, and I share this with people that I'll sit in counseling just kind of talking with, that there's a continual proximity that needs to take place to be close to his power and the process. You see, I'll meet people that'll come and they'll go, man, I need some Jesus. They'll share those words. I'm like, hey, we all do. Yes, me too. They're like, no, you don't know. My life's been a train wreck. I need to come and be a part, but it's been a while. I go, awesome. I'm so glad you're here. And this is a place for you to ask questions, be skeptical, have doubts, but God is here for you. They go, yeah, I felt that. And then I don't see him for weeks, months, sometimes even years. And then I see them again. And it's usually when the bottom has dropped out, right? We're like, whew, I need me some, life's been good, but I need me some juice again. Let me get in that seat. Yeah, hallelujah, Jesus, I'm here for you. And we move again. But see, that is not only is there proximity to his power, but there's also a process. You've watched anything that you've done. You take on a new job, there's a process in getting acclimated to that new working environment. You have a child, and let me tell you, there's a process to getting used to what's sleep like, because that's not happening right now. And why is it that I have to go in and help somebody? Don't you just come out and you're ready to use the bathroom on your own and feed yourself and earn your keep? What are you doing? No, there's a process to learn. And then there's a process for them to learn. But over time, that person begins to learn. That person begins to change and grow. And I don't know why we see this in all other areas. But then we come to faith and we go, one and done. As long as I came to church one time, I'm good. And instead saying, God, I want you to do a process and a work in me. And that's only when we begin to put ourselves in proximity to not only his power, but embracing that process. And Nicodemus wasn't sure about that miraculous movement of the process. And if you don't hear anything else, my prayer is you hear this, that it's only through Jesus that we can be made alive before God. It's only through making a cognitive choice to say, God, I'm going to trust you. There's no plan B. Whatever happens, God, you are strong. God, you can protect me. And yes, even when, and it's funny, I didn't plan on making a mistake and hitting it through where it leaked just a little bit, but I'll tell you what, I would rather be in the hands of God where a little bit of my mess leaks out, but I'm his, than to try to deal with every single one of those instances that pierce our lives on my own. Because when that happens, if we were to take that bag back out and pull those out on our own, it spills out everywhere. And you've encountered that with other people, and if we want to get real, you've spilled out onto others. You've had moments where you were hurt and you tried to fix it on your own, and it didn't end well. If you were transparent with God, you'd look in the mirror and go, God, there have been moments where I've acted out of my own wounds and I tried to do it on my own. And I would ask you this in a loving way. Are you trying to carry the weight on your own? Chris Durso's a pastor in New York City. I can't imagine doing ministry in New York City, Las Vegas, these high populous areas that are kind of pushing the limits of things and culture. And he wrote it this way in his book, Misfits. It says, if it's true that the Son of God died quickly because the weight of our sin was too heavy for his human organs to bear. We hear about the spiritual side and these emotional side of our sin if you've been around church long enough. But imagine the weight of the sins of the world was on a human body, fully God and fully human. It says, imagine that. Then how could we in our mere human state possibly think we're capable of carrying the weight of our own sin? That God is the only one that can miraculously hold us together when we feel like we're falling apart. You see, we overestimate what we can hold and carry and underestimate what God can do. And in that vein, I was like, when have people overestimated what they could actually do? I was like, the gym. And so I did a quick Google search, and let's take a look at people that thought that they could do it on their own. Let's check this out. Notice the bar's already bent. Uh-oh.
Push, 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 push.
Nope.
Back.
He's smiling. He's good. This guy's doing the Macarena right here. I'm not sure what's happening. See, that could have ended real badly. Some of y'all are like, that's why I don't go to the gym. Most amens we'll ever have in a service. Amen. No gym for me. What would it take for God to show you he is trustworthy? Maybe a better question to that would be, how much weight would be too much for you? Of sin, of anger towards God and the church and Christians? Meet a lot of people like that, and it's not because of God. It's because of people that have hijacked God for the sake of their own agenda that have really wounded people. How much weight would be too much? How much weight would be so difficult to carry that finally you would say, God, I want to trust you and have you be the person to carry this for me? You see, the flip side, the kind of movement of this then gets to be, all right, I'll come, but. And what we do is, and I'd ask the question, if you put God in your debt, God, I decided to show up, fix my marriage. And if you don't fix my marriage, I'm gone. God, I'm going to come and I'm going to sit a couple times, but if you don't get my unruly children, who I'm about to send to you, under control, then I'm out. I'm done. God, I have an anger issue, and I'm going to go for a Sunday. But if you don't miraculously make me less angry in one Sunday, I'm out, and I'm never giving you another chance. You see, we would never operate in that kind of way in other facets of life. Why would we do that with God? Why do we do that with His church? His church is made up of a bunch of broken people. That's why we say here that we're a bunch of broken misfits, a ragtag group who is going to fail and make mistakes, but we're going to search after Jesus day after day. You go, I don't go to church because a bunch of hypocrites are there. I go, okay, well, you can come and you can be one with us. Because it's true. We all search after that, but we all will fall and make mistakes. But putting God in your debt is not the way to do it, because God can never be in your debt. There is not enough stuff that you can do in proximity to make God go, all right, I'll land here. He is sovereign. He is good. He is wonderful. And that's why, as we read through this account of Nicodemus, which many of you probably have never even heard before, you go, Nicodemus who? Well, Jesus' response to Nicodemus, landing the plane for Nicodemus and giving him the moment of clarity, it's in the verse that you've seen at ball games time after time after time. The guy holds up the sign, and what does it have on it? John 3:16. This is what he shares with Nicodemus. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have what? Eternal life. There's no plan B. There is no plan B. No one else is coming. It is only Jesus. See, that's why we have to draw back. Whether you have begun to follow him or not, it's only through him, through Jesus, that we can be made alive before God. And you can stack up any number of plan Bs that you want, of resentment, of anger, of pride, of just frustration, because God let blank happen, and I get it. I get it. I've had moments where I've gone, God, why did you let that happen? I am so mad. God goes, it breaks my heart too, because there's a bunch of people who are just as sinful, who have done some things. And you know what, Jason, you're right. You're put in proximity. And these things have come into your life, and it is hard. But do you trust me? Do you trust me by handing your life over into my hands and spiritually being born again? Leave plan B behind and trust me, because I can remove those moments and heal you of those moments, but I'm the only one that can. And you may have come to church once or 1,000 times, but it's been these things that have held you back, that have pierced life, and you just go, that's it, I'm out. And I get it. But you're putting God in your debt over time, going, God, you need to fix this or else. God goes, I'll heal you. First, trust me. First, trust me. First, trust me. That can only happen when you come to Jesus. And that choice can't make you do anything. That's the beauty and horror of my spot here. I can tell you everything that the Bible talks about and what God wants for you, but you get to make that choice on whether or not you actually believe it. Will you choose to live? Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.